Bees live a very short lifespan, so sometimes they'll just live out the rest of their bee life. And the bees that we see out in the world foraging, they're at the end of their short bee life.
How long is a bee's life?
So a worker bee, and we're talking about honeybees, Western honeybees, the ones you see me keep, the lifespan of a female worker bee varies throughout the year. So in the spring and summer, when the bees are working their hardest, the female worker bees will only live about 6 weeks. In the winter, when they're not doing quite as much, and when we need more bees to make it through the winter, they'll live a little bit longer, and they'll live about 6 months. And their bodies actually change in the winter. The bees that are born later in the year and need to make it through the winter will have more fat bodies on them so that they can make it through the dearth when there's nothing in bloom and when bees are living off the honey that they collected or stored in their hive earlier in the year.
And how long does the queen live?
The queen can live the longest. She can live about 5 years. That's on the longer end. Most queens will live a little bit shorter, but she can live significantly longer than all the other bees in the hive. And then we have the worker bees who live about 6 weeks, 6 months. The queen bee can live up to 5 years, and the drone bees will live about 6 months, the male bees.
And what is the ratio of male bees to female bees?
A honeybee colony is about 95% female, and the amount of male bees can actually fluctuate throughout the year. So when we need male bees around to mate with a queen, and they'll mate with a queen, not their queen, but when we need more male bees around, the colony will produce more male bees. In the winter, when there aren't as many resources available to the bees, the female bees will kick all the male bees out of the hive, and they'll either starve or freeze to death. So right now, there are no male bees in most hives. In these bees that came along with me today, there's not a single male honeybee there.
They starve to death.
They starve to death. They have no way of foraging. They don't do the work of bees. So most people have never seen a male honeybee before, and that's just because male honeybees aren't out in the world doing the work of bees. They stay in the hive or they leave and they go to drone congregation areas to mate with a queen, but they're not going to be on a flower or in your wine glass or whatnot.
So the male bees don't mate with their own females. Would that be like mating with the mother?
That would be like incestuous, right?
Oh.
So here's what happens within the colony when it's time for the queen bee to mate. So once a queen bee is born, when she reaches the ripe age of about 7 days old, she'll go on a mating flight, and she may go on only 1, possibly 2 mating flights in her entire life. And she'll fly out of the hive and she'll go to a drone congregation area, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an area where there's a bunch of drone male honeybees flying around just waiting for a queen bee to fly by. And these drone congregation areas exist about 100 feet in the sky, which is another reason you would never see a male honeybee. But if a queen bee flies by, the fastest, strongest drones win, and they will successfully mate with a queen. And the queen will mate with only about 15 to 20 drone bees, and she'll have enough sperm to last the rest of her life. And what happens to the male bees is once they mate with a queen, their endophallus rips out of their abdominal cavity and they fall to the ground, and that's the end of their little bee life.
Whoa. So they die